have you. They want us to participate with them in supplying volunteers, but these volunteers will be our county employees, a limited number of them for a limited number of days. These would not be public safety responders. These would be administrative people to help, with directing volunteers and passing out food, etc. So he can explain that, but I think it's a reasonable request that we find a way to partner with them to help them. And it may or may not be that they need us, but they likely will at some point. And we would be in a position to allow our employees that so choose to participate and help in this kind of way to volunteer and be trained, and then they would be available to be on call. So then you can take over from here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, first of all, thank you for letting me be here today to ask you this favor. The Red Cross these days is always looking for volunteers because we're a volunteer-based organization. We're looking for them all over the place whenever we can. Obviously, county employees, being members of this community, have a lot of skin in the game, and what we're asking for is for this county government to allow some of its employees to become trained as Red Cross members, and should the need arise, for those employees to serve as Red Cross volunteers without being charged vacation time or leave or any kind of penalty to their salary or anything like that. The number that the mayor and I discussed was up to 5 employees for a period of up to 5 days. And that's generally what we're talking about. We're not talking about any kind of dangerous work. We're talking about people to work in shelters, people to help pass out food, and people to just go around and perform damage assessment once an area has been deemed safe for volunteers to go. So, as he also said, that these would be non-emergency personnel. We're talking about more administrative end employees to serve as volunteers, but the key is to have them pre-trained in Red Cross activities. So if there are any questions and feel that I've missed anything, I'd be happy to answer anything you've got.
There's something similar to this that's going through the legislature at this time on damage assessment and things like that, where someone can have first responder teams that are kind of volunteer stuff, where they won't be held liable or anything like that. You might want to check into that as well.
Okay.
But I think this is a good avenue, because if a tornado hits, everybody's going to need all the help they can get, or some kind of disaster.
Absolutely.
So.
Would this be anything or similar to, at least in part, of what Box 100 in Laverne does?
I'm not aware of Box 100's complete mission. What I can tell you is that we do work closely with government agencies, with the EMA, with fire department, search and rescue as well. I understand Box 100, for example, has been used in traffic direction and activities like that. Ours are more humanitarian based, feeding, sheltering, in some cases to interview people who might need emergency financial assistance for those needs. So I'm not able to draw a clear line between what Box 100 does and what we do, just because I'm not completely aware of everything that they do.
So these people wouldn't actually, say there's a fire,
Okay.
and at one residence. So these people would not be going and responding to one. They would be going, if there was a tornado, if something, a bigger disaster, that was going to be more of a long-term, like sheltering or whatever.
Exactly. These would be for larger disasters. And another restriction that the mayor and I discussed would be that they would be only involved in disasters that affected Rutherford County. But these would be for larger term disasters, nothing for single family fires or even multi-family fires. We have a stockpile of volunteers for that, but only when we need a quick bump up in personnel.
So you said it would be up to 5 employees?
For up to 5 days, yes.
For up to 5, is that a 5-day stretch or 5 days total per year, or?
That is something that can be worked out, the number of times that this agreement can be activated in a given year. Given, based in past history, there shouldn't be a need for this to happen more than once in a given calendar year. Obviously, there are exceptions. Yeah, knock on wood. But a 5-day stretch should be good. But the key to remember is that we might need to train more than just the 5 people. So we could be talking about a pool of 10 or 15, staggering the days here and there, but overall, each county employee would miss no more than 5 days of work in a given calendar year.
Especially raise the hand on
Right, 2 questions. One, the training that they would have to take, would they take that on their own time, or would that be on the county's budget? And the second question is, the time that they're off, this 5 days, would they still be, if it wasn't a weekend during their normal working hours, would they be paid their full salary from the county?
If they are not scheduled to work, they would not be on county time. They would be able to volunteer on their own time, and that would make the compensation point kind of moot. What was your first question?
Their training?
Oh, the training, we can arrange for that to happen on their own time. Out of consideration for taxpayer dollars, we would do everything to minimize their time away from work.
How many days, what will that consist of?
These classes are one and done. There's a first class that is about 3 hours long, and then, let's say, for example, if they opt to take sheltering, and let that be the kind of activity they wanted to participate in. Those classes are only a few hours long, one and done.
Have to kind of renew that training every year, or do they have to go through a?
Generally speaking, no, because the mission is always the same, and the principles that govern our activities are always the same. The one thing that they would have to do as volunteers would be to update some paperwork, to fill out a health status record, just to make sure that we're not giving them any activities that medically they're not supposed to be doing. Like, for instance, if they have a back problem, we don't want them lifting anything heavy, or if they have any other kind of medical condition, we're not giving them an activity that's considered inappropriate.
And that brings up another question, when you talk back problems or you get hurt, what about workman's comp? If they're actually getting paid, how will that?
The Red Cross, while these employees would be serving as Red Cross volunteers, the county would not be, or really any employer who enters into this memorandum of understanding, this isn't exclusive to the county, is not liable for actions of or damages by their employees as long as they are on Red Cross time and serving as volunteers.
If something was to occur that was gonna be long-term for this employee due to an injury, and they cannot come back to work, say, for a long period of time, where does that fall? Because it could be,
He's added this statement, and it's not specific enough to answer your question, but it's basically says, somewhere here,
Roman numeral 7.
but the county shall not be held liable for the actions of or damages caused by their employees. Said liabilities will be covered through the insurance of the American Red Cross. Now, that's as specific as we've got this drawn, but.
If you'd like something more specific on personal injury, I can-
I guess what I don't want to happen is, I don't want the employee to be damaged in a way where, say something happens real bad.
You don't want the county to be on the hook after the fact once the volunteer activities are done.
Right, I don't want that as well, but I don't want that employee, something happens to that employee when they're volunteering their time, and also where they may not be able to come back to work for, say, a year.
Right.
I want both sides covered, where the Red Cross, if they're volunteering and the insurance is gonna cover them for that part, and then the county have to pick up that other part as well. Both sides taken care of.
I'll get you a more specific answer, but that's why we go to these preventative measures to begin with. But if you're looking for something more specific for long-term, I can get you an answer on that.
Well, I think you're wondering, because if it happened to an employee on a county job, that there is long-term disability for him there. And, you know, what he's asking, does the Red Cross have something like that would cover them, I guess?
I can look into that.
Have you done this in other areas that you can give us specifics on how it's worked out?
This chapter of the Red Cross has not. However, the Red Cross in Nashville has agreements with other companies and even with government agencies, and they come in all different shapes and sizes. Let me give you an example. They have an agreement with a certain corporation to have up to 30 employees for up to 3 days each. They have an agreement with the Davidson County Sheriff's Department where the sheriff has provided one employee only, but ad nauseum. The Sheriff's Department will pay that employee to show up for a year and pay that employee to be a Red Cross volunteer. So it is catching on, but this is a program which is really on the cutting edge. It is started in the Nashville area. We are the second chapter of the Red Cross in the state, maybe even in the country, to be going through this process.
I can see the need for volunteers to help in situations for what you're doing. But I can also see the need as far as making sure that the public's money is taken care of, and also the employee is covered as well, so.
Like I said, we're gonna do everything we can to be, conscious of taxpayer dollars, to make sure that they're not missing time unnecessarily from work. We won't be requesting these employees to show up as volunteers unless it is absolutely necessary, a catastrophic situation. Training on their own time, really what we need the county for is to say, yes, we will continue to compensate these employees during their time away from work, and yes, we will provide an avenue for recruitment.
The other thing too, we're trying to get your pool big enough where you're not wearing 5 or 10 people out. Because
Exactly.
if you got 12-hour shifts, or you may have 24-hour shifts, if you had 10 people, those 10 are gonna be
Exactly.
5 and 5.
So we would have a pool of more than just the 5 employees that we're talking about activating. We would have 15, 20, however many. It depends on how many respond to our recruitment request. But you're absolutely dead on.
This is completely voluntary, and if they choose to even want to do this. And then, of course, when catastrophe happens, it may be that some of them are not available, their job may not allow it, so we still have that flexibility. It's not a requirement even then.
Or they themselves might need Red Cross assistance. They would be taking care of their own homes and their own families and not be able to.
And these are going to be duties that are not hazardous. I mean, theoretically, we're gonna keep administrative kinds of positions that they're filling.
No, it's our philosophy. We don't go anywhere unless it's deemed absolutely safe. And we don't assign people to do jobs that they're not prepared to do. We don't ask people to do anything that they haven't already volunteered to do.
If we agree on 5 and say a dozen people decide they'd like to give it a shot, the county determines who the 5 are gonna be?
We will absolutely. Just
Okay.
Depending on, of course, the EMA director or deputy director will be the person that mobilizes this group. But this will have to be consented to by either the elected official or the department head for which these people have
Okay.
volunteered from. In other words, they'll still have to be signed up and say, I can let this person go at this point in time.
What we have plans to do is to create a roster of availability based on the departments, driven and housed by the HR department, because they're the ones that are primarily responsible for county employees. So when we build a cache of employees that are ready to volunteer for the system, we have maybe a list of 30 to 50 people that are willing to volunteer. We'll go down that call roster to see who's available and then get them out of that list. And then, as Mr. Farley stated, when we reach that operational function where we need to change people over because they've worked an amount of hours, we need to be able to have turnover so people aren't overworked.
Well, just looking at an average, say, if we had 5 people that did this for a year, in a year's time, one time, we're not talking but probably, $4,000 to $5,000 on the top end would be my guess, as far as our liability, if they were working all the days that they were off.
You're talking about if they're 8-hour shifts, you're talking about 5 people that work 5 days. So you're talking about 25 shifts.
Right.
Somebody's working, so.
Right.
So 200 hours is what we're talking about of time that would be
Right.
contributed.
Well, having said that, I'll make a motion to approve this, send it on to budget.
I'll second.
Got a motion, we got a second. All right, is there any more discussion on the motions on the floor?
I'd like to know, has Mr. Cope's office taken a look at the agreement or?
You can make it subject to his review, so it's a pretty simple little document.
What if a year from now, we had a disaster flood, maybe this fall, and for some reason, it didn't work out for us as a county? Will we look at this every year? Or is this something that we're agreeing to from this point on?
This is a non-binding agreement. All that would need to happen is I would need to have a request from the county. Either Mayor Burgess or the Department of Emergency Management would need to notify me that they wish to withdraw. And that's it. This is a non-binding legal agreement. This is a memorandum
typically with memorandums of understanding, we've got some more tweaking to do with it, and if it's not there, we can certainly add that in, that it is an agreement that is allowable to be dissolved by either party in writing within a certain amount of days.
No different than what they used to call mutual aid agreements.
Absolutely.
Sort of what this is the
Yeah.
mutual aid agreement.
All right. Well, Mr. Pay, you wanna put anything about Mr. Cope's office in your motion?
We can have Mr. Cope's office review and work
Subject to
with.
county attorney review of the agreement.
Okay. All right, is there any other questions or comments on the motion on the floor? Hearing or seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion's unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, thank y'all. OSHA report. And I believe it's on the desk.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Report I have for you this afternoon or this evening is for the month of January. And January is the first month in the reporting for OSHA. They work on a calendar year, so as we go through this, remember this is the first month of the year. You'll notice we had a total of 8 injuries requiring medical attention, and you can see the breakout that we have there. Of those 8 injuries, 5 of them had were recordable under OSHA. 3 of them had restricted days, and we had none with lost claim days. Look at the next page, you'll see the graph comparing it to the 2 previous years. I'm pleased to say with 8, that's the lowest we've had in the last 2 years. Last year was a total of 18 in the month of January. In the previous year before that in January, we had 20. So we're less than 50% on the injuries for the month of January this year. Of those 8, you'll notice that the total dollars incurred was $12,150. The Board of Education had 6 of those injuries, and their total incurred dollars were $6,850. The Highway Department had 1 for a total of $900 on incurred, and the County General had 1 for a total of $4,400 on total incurred. As requested, I broke out the County General, and you can see where that 1 injury was on the next page there. And coming back to Commissioner Schaefer's request last month, he asked for a 3-year summary on multiple OGI claims, how many and where they are, and kind of a little breakdown on that, and that's what that last page is. You'll notice for the 3-year summary, those that had 2 injuries in the last 3 years is depicted by the 2 times, 3 or more 3 times, and we did have 1 individual that has 5 injuries in the last 3 years. You'll see the breakdown within the County General, the Board of Education, and the Highway, how that breaks down. We also discussed that some of those individuals, for whatever reason, not necessarily because of this, but may no longer be a county employee. That's also been addressed on that, no longer employed of those numbers there. Then, in keeping with your request to break out the County General, that's where that's broken out in that under the County General with the reoccurrences in the different departments there that you have.
Can you go into the detail on the 5? I mean, just from the standpoint of.
I will tell you that it is 1 individual who is in a high-risk environment, and the duties that he's given is probably more involved in things like that. I personally don't see that as an issue for that individual or anything like that, but when you put yourself out there, sometimes things happen, and it may not always be that it's a bad injury, but if you get a small cut from a glass or something, you have to have it checked out and things like that. So,
Can they swap out that person to see if it might be the person?
I beg your pardon?
Can they swap out the person and see it might be the person?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to talk to the department head or the elected official. We can do that though and see. But if you would like to know more about it, I'd be glad to answer your questions, but perhaps not at this.
Okay.
Any questions on the report?
Let me just ask one quick, hopefully
Okay.
one quick. You mentioned we had 8 recordables.
Yes. Well, they are 8 injuries requiring medical attention. The recordables total 5.
Okay. We've got 8 injuries,
Mhm.
and it's down from last year and also down from the year before last. Is there a reason for that? Is there something that we're doing, you're doing to improve that, or is it just luck?
I will say, I see that injuries happen, they're somewhat cyclic. There's month we have real low, and the next month it comes back and they're high. I'm gonna tell you right now, the month of February is also down, and if you look at where we were last year this time, we were at 25 and 30, the last 2 years, and it's better right now. I think maybe people are paying closer attention. We are concentrating on training. I think the economy may be taking a slight upswing and people are feeling better, but it needs to have people be aware of what's going on, and we need to keep up our safety training and safety awareness, and that's hopefully paying off on some of this.
Let me ask that one more
Okay,
time.
sure.
Is there something that we're doing proactively to bring that number down?
We are doing safety training with the Board of Education, and we have that out there every month. Tim Street is doing the safety training. We're also doing school visits and county visits where Tim Street, and assisting me, is going out to the schools at least twice a month, visiting 3 schools at a time. So that's 6 schools a month we're going to. And again, to the different departments. We've been by the Sheriff's Department. We've been by the several other county departments and all, and I think that awareness, and people are aware of what's going on, sending out the newsletters that we're doing about the safety awareness, and all of that I think is continuing to build. I like to think that that is what we're doing, and some of those numbers are coming down for that. Then too, remember in years past, the winter months have been harder on us, and we've had more snow and ice, and this time we haven't had that, so those injuries from ice have not materialized like they did the last couple of years. So.
Didn't a few years ago, didn't we implement the train the trainer, where we had someone in each one of the departments go out and come in and was trained and then was sent back out to the department?
Yes, sir, we've done that, been working on that also, and that's part of that training program that we're doing. So, I mean, I'd love to sit here and say it's everything that we're doing, but when you don't have the accidents, it's hard to say why you didn't have it. When you do have an accident, it gets a little bit easier to say why you did have it. So, but I'd love to take credit for every bit of it. Yes, sir. We're doing fantastic.
And it could very well be too, that our employees are being more self-conscious.
Absolutely, the safety awareness, that's what I'm saying. The awareness and the training can be paying off. But I do know that as soon as you take credit for it, the very next time, it goes through the roof, and you're sitting here like, oh my gosh, what did we do wrong? So, I just want to give credit to the employees of the county. They're the ones that make it happen.
Somebody isn't basketball when he stepped up.
Excuse me for going on.
Guaranteed
There's-
they'll miss it.
There's 2 causes for an accident.
Mhm.
One is an unsafe condition, one is an unsafe act.
Yes, sir.
Are we making a determination which one of those every accident is?
Absolutely.
Okay, what do we do when someone commits an unsafe act? There's a policy, someone commits an unsafe act, are there consequences for that?
That goes back to the department head. For example, if it happens in the Board of Education, it goes back to that or to the individual departments. And their supervisors are required to fill out the on-the-job injury form, and there's a supervisor report on that. And they state the supervisors investigated it and followed through what's on there. Yes, sir.
On the other side of that, a condition, an unsafe condition, are there, after the investigation, are we following up on that to see if we can remove that condition so that it doesn't happen again?
Yes, sir, because what I'm doing is I take those reports, and Tim Street is doing his visits and things like that. He follows through and goes back. In fact, we've had 1 or 2 school visits where things have happened, and he's made a point of going back and visiting those schools and following up on those conditions.
Those are the type of things that bring that down. And that
Yes,
was
sir.
what I was driving at. You guys have probably discussed this in years past, but since this is my first year back on it, I just wanted to make sure. And
No problem,
probably
sir.
should have asked you outside this meeting, but thank you for your answer.
All right. We got a motion on the floor on this report. Is there a
I'll make a
motion?
motion to approve his report.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Anything else?
Don't have
All right, thank you.
Good work.
Thank you.
Ambulance service report. Gonna bring your bodyguard up here, we.
We made 1,989 calls, and average response time 7.6 minutes. We had 27 coroner's calls and 17 autopsies in the month of January. Billed $1,273,607. Collected $456,446. Our year-to-date is $3,537,113, which puts us on a projected balance of a little over $6 million. We had insurance write-offs of $343,898. Collection agency write-offs $271,634, and county discounts of $1,068. We had no operational shutdowns, and a few hours at the stations listed there. We only had one person there for a little while. Drove a total of 38,879 miles, and had 513 out-of-home calls. We had 5 different in-services and training that's listed there. Public relations, which is formerly REACT, was very busy for the month. We covered MTSU men's and women's basketball games, and a rodeo at the Miller Coliseum. The resort had those various training exercises that are listed for. And the bike team had a safety meeting. Next page is the number of calls sent among the stations, and various times associated with that. Following page is number of calls that are broken down by commissioner districts, as well as the transport team calls. After that page is same information except for the year-to-date. The page with the matrix is actually the number of calls that were responded to, which ambulances and which zones. A total of 1,989 calls.
Mike, has that helped y'all any, look at that a little bit differently, how you're manning your stations? I mean, have you made any changes since you started looking at it this way, or have you been doing that all along?
No, we actually just started looking at this several months ago.
Well, I remember when we first did.
To answer your question, we've not made any changes in the way that we're doing things, but obviously make some changes in the future.
I see Commissioner Young has been beat out this time.
Yeah, he was, that's the first time in a long time. It was still year-to-date.
Yeah.
He must live in, have the nursing home district.
And we have 2 or 3 thank you attaboy type of things there. We only had 3 instances of vacation being denied.
That's gone down quite a bit, hasn't it?
It will until next month in spring. 408 FMLA sick hours and 24 FMLA vacation hours, 354 sick hours, and 469 vacation hours.
Anybody have any questions for Mike on his report? Hearing or seeing no questions, I'll entertain a motion on the report. Got a motion, do we have a second? Second. And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. And you got a budget amendment?
We would like to transfer $100,000 from our fund balances to operating transfers. The purpose of this is so that the county can meet their $100,000 obligation and a $400,000 grant that has been approved, which goes towards the radio system for the entire county.
If y'all remember, I guess back probably a year ago, or almost a year ago, when we received that, I guess it was kind of like a safer grant. And so it's gonna help us out tremendously, get some communications in this county, so. This is some of that federal dollars that some commissioners don't like.
I think this was the grant the fire department wrote for the radio towers, if
Right.
I'm not mistaken, which is obviously EMS is gonna benefit from for the VHS system, and the sheriff's department's gonna benefit from with all the towers and whatnot. The big plan that Mr. Allen presented to us about a year and a half ago.
It's very much needed, because like I said, there's some areas in this county that, whether it be EMS, fire, police, sheriff, or whatever, you can't get out.
Yeah, it's obviously gonna be the benefit of all the public safety agencies that in the county, but as well as the municipalities as well.
Right. Do I hear a motion on this
I'll
request?
make a motion to approve. This is something full commission's already passed.
Right.
Anyway, we're basically paying our bill here.
Right. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Any questions, comments?
Well, yeah, comment, but it's on, what is, in your undesignated fund balance there? Or sign for, what's your balance? Is it 15%?
He has no requirement on his
No
balance.
requirement.
We do a good job of collecting.
I was gonna say, you know, it seems to me that ought to be around, well over 20% is what you got of what your budget is, so.
We're working it, so.
Anybody else? Call roll?
Commissioner Gooch?
Yeah.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. All right, thank you. Drug court report. Don't see this, and we'll move on to juvenile detention. How you doing now?
Good. Good evening. I think everybody should have in front of them our monthly report. It's going to be for the month of January. Probably the only thing that stands out on this report is our population average is up a little bit. But beyond that, we are doing well. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Not anything you're pushing close to on budget line items?
It's tracking pretty much the same as it usually does.
Anybody else? Entertain a motion.
Move to approve the report.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank
Thank you.
you. Sheriff's Department report. Is he here?
Motion to approve the report?
Oh, did I hear a motion to deny the report?
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good, how you doing?
quick. That was quick, done fast.
Hey, you hear, I wanted, I said, is there a motion to deny the report?
Gotta do it quick.
I looked down, and next thing I know, she was getting up and leaving.
Put one down, pass it around.
You got the pretty one.
I'm sure there'll be extras left over for the rest of them.
I'll let you have this.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, sir. Okay. First on the list is an amendment to move some money out of our utilities line item and into the gasoline line item. I was doing a little homework on that. This is not gonna get us to the end of the year, but it'll get us through probably the end of April. And I'm working on finding some other funds in other places, but I want to at least get a little bit deeper into our budget and see
see where we're at. The big thing being that gas on average is up 75 cents a gallon. It's remained that way almost this entire budget year. And when we rolled into this budget year, we'd already cut it $50,000, thinking it was gonna go back down. That gamble did not work. So for starters, to cover the month of April, we're gonna need this $50,000 to get us to that.
But you've had a mild winter, so that your utilities are lower, right?
Yeah, and we also don't have a kitchen. So that even helps even more, and we're doing clothes on the lines out there to dry them out instead of using the dryer, so.
You got more inmates, so
Yeah.
they're keeping the building warmer.
Yeah. So it worked out pretty good. So we're gonna move 50,000 for that. We're gonna move 11,000 out of the food service equipment line item because we're not doing anything in the kitchen. And we're gonna move it to the food prep line item. Repair and maintenance of equipment, we're gonna move 12,000 out of that and put that into the prisoner clothing line item to buy mattresses. And, let's see, we're gonna move 12,000 out of the, what is Dr. Rudd's line item for him, but it's where we get reimbursement from state Tennessee, and move that into custodial supplies. That's page 1. I don't know if you wanna do them all at one time, or?
If it's okay with the committee, we'll go ahead and do them all at one time.
Okay. The second page is to recognize a donation into the canine line, and we're just gonna move that into the animal supplies line item. And then the third one is we're gonna move 1,000 out of the confidential payments and into the other supplies line item, which is just a transfer within the budget itself. That's all I have for now.
Is there any questions on the budget request?
Just a comment, I appreciate y'all going into your budget, not asking for new money on this. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and I have a second. Discussion. Seeing none, call roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes.
Yeah, I put this copy of the letter in all these. Everybody's got one.
What we got here in front of you is a request to change the way we did our budget this year makes it where I have to come up here and request to change some pay grades. We've got a communications officer, Jamie Morton. We're requesting to change her pay from a pay grade 4 to a pay grade 7. TBI has made her an offer to come to work for them, doing what she does. She's our TAC officer. If we lose her, we will be behind the 8 ball for probably about 3 years. And they come to her to get her to go throughout the state and train people to do her job. And they've come to her now and asked her to come to work for them so they can send her throughout the state. This isn't even what they've offered her. I kind of talked to her and said, hey, if I could change your salary, can I change your mind? And she's like, naturally, like everybody else, talk to me. So this is one person I would like to try to change her salary to keep her because we can't afford to lose her. Isis McCullough, we've, with some of the problems that we're having within the detention center when it comes to immigration issues and booking issues, we took a corporal that was in the jail that worked on our supplies, and we sent that corporal position to booking. Well, naturally, we still had to have someone there to issue supplies and take care of the different supplies within the jail. And so we brought Isis over because she did a similar job for the patrol side. So if we were to try to hire someone else to do that job to make up another person, that would cost us another roughly $30-something thousand. So basically, this is just a difference of about $10,000, which saves the county. And instead of us trying to hire somebody else, because we've got numerous needs. And so we want to move her salary up into what this is, with the pay grade 7. And then also we got rid of one of our narcotics positions, absorbing one, but we had to kind of come up and fill that spot somewhere. So we got rid of a sergeant position and in one division. So therefore, we want to move Corporal Whit Davis back up to a sergeant's pay salary because now he's doing that function because they no longer have a sergeant within his division. So I'm coming to you to request this changes. We can do it within our budget, so I just need y'all's approval.
Maybe I'm not, can I get into this?
Go ahead.
Maybe I'm not up on pay grades, but are we giving the person a raise, or are we giving the position a raise?
We're giving the position a raise.
The communications officer is rated a level 7?
She is, for her job, we should probably even rate her higher, but we haven't. We have tons of positions down there that do other jobs other than what they're doing. They're kind of a jack of all trades, but a master of none. This one, she's a master and they want her. And so if we lose her, we'll pay dearly for the training that we have to pay her and then try to get someone up to her speed.
Sure, what I'm asking is that if all of your people came in and said, I'm gonna quit unless you give me a raise, are you gonna promote all of them?
No.
Are we paying for the position, or are we paying for the person? Are we making a decision to pay that person a higher salary than that level calls for? That's what I'm asking. What is the rating, the level rating of that position?
The position she's in now is a communications officer, which is a pay grade 4. So then therefore, we're wanting to take that pay grade 4 to a pay grade 7.
Yeah, the work that she's doing warrants
Warrants.
moving it up to a pay grade 7 because of the level of work.
Is there other pay grade 4s in communication?
Yeah, there's a whole group of them.
All of them are
Yeah, there's a whole
pay
group
grade
of them, and
4s.
normally,
Except for supervisors.
yeah, but the position itself and the work that she's doing in the open market would warrant that you need to pay.
Okay.
And this work that she does is required to run that department, and so that position itself would be, it's basically been lower rated. I don't know if it's on purpose, but it's not done properly. Her job position and her job description, what she does, would actually mean that it's worth a lot more money.
So it's changed?
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
doing something different right now than she's been doing in the past?
Yeah, she's been doing
Yeah.
something different than what she was originally hired in for,
Yeah.
because the mandates have changed.
The mandates have changed.
We have to do certain things, and we've got some more mandates coming, even on some other things. And so we have to find somebody that's gonna do these certain jobs, and we just take somebody that knows what's going on and then train them to what these mandates are. And that's what's happened with this. She was the one that started doing this and mastered it, and back when we didn't have anybody doing it. Now that we've got a mandate, and these other departments throughout the state are having the mandate, and they're having to train people to do what she does within their agency.
So the position's kind of grown beyond what was
Yes.
originally rated.
I know I'm sounding difficult.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
No.
But I've got a history in
HR.
in human resources, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't give a person a pay raise just because that person says, I'm gonna quit and go someplace else.
No, that's not
You
what
give
she's saying.
a person an increase in pay raise because they've been promoted to a different level. Can you show me the job description, how it's changed, and the reason that that needs to be increased like that?
Yes, we could.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't bring that with us tonight, but we could do that. From what she was originally hired, it was basically just a generic communications officer. Now she's got all this specialized things that she does above and beyond anybody else in the department. It's not the whole department's doing this. It's just her and her position.
And
And if she ever leaves, we'd have to find a replacement for just that type of person that has that kind of core training. We'd have to go out in the open market and find somebody at that pay level to do that job.
Her training is so specialized, I'm not even allowed in her office. Because what the clearances that she has with TBI, she is the only one that's to be in her office and to have access to her computers and stuff like that.
What kind of work does she do again?
She's a TAC officer. She basically puts in all the criminal information and deals with TBI on a regular basis. Like I've got them coming in on Wednesday, TBI, to talk about different things within our system.
So in essence, this is a promotion?
Yes.
And were there proper procedures followed? Are you supposed to post those kind of jobs, do those kinds of things, or do you just promote whoever you want to?
Yeah, we're just promoting her. She's the only one that can do it. Nobody has ever been trained to do it. She just kind of, as the different mandates came in, she was the one taught how to do it. If we put it up for promotion right now, we'd still be training someone 2 years to do what she can do now.
What about On the other two here are actually for pay grade 7 as well. Are they, as far as promotions as well?
Yes.
And at pay grade 7, is that a sergeant's position?
Yes.
So you're talking about $24,000, and you say you have this in your
Plus
budget?
benefits.
Well, no, the benefits are already there.
They're gonna be higher at the higher pay grade.
But
Yeah,
we've got those,
we've
I've
got-
I've already checked those numbers.
It's just, the reason why I'm coming to y'all is the way we did our budget this year, so we have to. But, you know, these are all things that need to be done.
Well, on the Davis one, you're basically doing a replacement for somebody you moved out of that
Yeah,
position.
we moved a sergeant out,
So you're
because we got
replacing
rid of-
another sergeant in
and so
his place.
his duties have gone from doing the corporal's job, he's doing now the sergeant's position because we don't have a sergeant there, so he's basically doing one more stripes than the job.
That one makes 100% sense to me. I kind of had the same, I just wanted to make sure that that TAC communications officer 4, that all the other people in communications weren't going, well, I got that certification
Right,
too.
no, they
and
don't have
No.
I was just, he answered a lot of my questions, that's why I've been silent, so.
It's gone from being just a generic, 911 operator type deal to highly specialized, highly confidential.
Well, what I can't
FBI
understand
level
about that
kinda
though is,
stuff, so.
why hadn't something been done about that before? Why hasn't there been, a new,
Because no
job
one-
description or something? And what, so why it didn't
There's
come through
lots of
for
things that
July
we've still
1st?
been doing, and just the way that things had been, and so now we're still trying to clean up things with this administration.
One last thing, if Miss Morton decides to go ahead and leave, that job is open, you're gonna fill it at a level 7.
Couldn't try. I mean,
We'd probably take that in open market to
To
be
hire-
able
to get
somebody of
somebody-
that caliber. And at that point, I'm thinking it'd probably be less pay than what the open market would support.
Yeah, because I mean,
Even
they're
with
offering
today's
her
economy.
kinda, at the state level, I don't know what it is, but it's a lieutenant pay grade for the state level. And I just figured, and I asked her, I said, if I could get you some more money, will you drop your thought on leaving? She's like, well, yeah. And she likes it here, she's been here, her husband works for us, for the county.
How long has she been here?
She's been here probably about 12 years, 10, 12 years.
Sure.
But her retirement would roll over with the state.
What I've been driving at, you just verified everything concern that I have. You're paying the person, you're not paying the position. If the position is a level 7, I'm good with it. I'm gonna give her all the money that needs to be. But you just said that you're paying her, not the position. You're
Well-
paying to keep her. And that is not the right way to approach the
Because
thing.
she's in the position. She's in this position
I
that
just-
should be. in.
I just
that's what
asked,
you're saying.
I just asked you a
Yeah.
minute ago,
Yeah.
if she left,
Right.
is this position gonna
Yes.
be a level 4 or level 7?
It'd be a
It would
seven.
be a level 7. We
That's
need to
what
get
it
it
would
to a
take to
level 7.
replace the person.
So really, your request is not for her, but a request
For the
to
position.
increase this position.
That
Yes.
is correct, sir.
Okay.
You got it.
I need to, I would like to verify that the position is set up, somehow, some way, I don't know how you do that, Gary, but somehow the job description's in place, the level position calls for that,
Yes.
that level, not the lower level, once again,
I'll be glad to drop off a job description for you tomorrow morning.
if you,
Let me ask you this, are you asking that to see a job description before you vote on it, or?
I just wanna verify that it exists, okay?
Yeah, we can give you the standard
And I'm
communications
not-
officer one, and then comparable, and then compare that with the one that's for her, and you will see a notable training and qualification difference. The standards between the two positions are quite dramatic, and that's why we're asking for such a dramatic increase.
So what happens if this person goes out on a sick leave for a couple of months or something? What's that gonna do to you? You got nobody to replace her, is what you're telling me.
Pretty much, that's half the department. If we've got somebody that goes out, we've only got one person that knows actually how. It's just like our board bill person, and that's millions of dollars for the county. We only got one person that knows how to do it. And if she goes out,
What about some of these people as far as cross-training? something.
We don't have manpower to cross-train everybody to do different things. We only
No, I'm just
complete-
thinking, I'm just
we
saying,
only
like
have
on, like
one
on this one
person.
here, if we had somebody else that may know, you know, the TAC part.
Well, I mean, naturally, it's, in there, she works very closely, but, you know, she's the one that knows how to do it. She's the one that's responsible. It's her logins, it's her, everything has been done through her.
I have to agree with Commissioner Farley there. I mean, you're gonna have to start cross-training, and you said yourself, that
That's
if
what
this
we've
lady
been working
left,
on.
she would be training people across the state, and you'd have to hire yourself to train.
Yes.
So since you've got her there,
Yes.
and if she does, and we do decide to have this position, I would definitely suggest that you do some serious cross-training.
People that know kind of what she does, but not everything, because naturally, they still have a job they have to do. That's the thing, if you pull one person from one place, then you're short in another.
Mayor, you,
Does this person's supervisor have the same ability to access this information? So nobody in the whole building?
That's specialized.
Is that a control thing from the state, or is that just nobody's met those
It's a
qualifications?
control thing from the state.
Okay. I do know a
Like
little bit about law
Candy-
enforcement. There are
Candy
some.
can't do her job.
Yeah, there,
Candy doesn't have
there-
all the access.
yeah,
like
there's,
she
there
does.
are some access issues when it
Yeah.
comes to sensitive information that I'm
Yes.
aware of, so I can see that. I just didn't know.
this is different than the NCIC's information.
Correct. She also deals with NCIC, but the TAC is totally different.
What does TAC stand for?
I think you're gonna ask me.
But just
Tennessee
one thing,
something.
I think, Jeff, I really think that you must draw up a job description that
Yeah, we've got it.
clearly outlines this, so that it'll be something that you have in place for future use. I mean, it's,
And we've got it, because we gave it to Sonia. I was talking this over with Sonia, and Sonia said she wanted to know the same thing. And it's like, yes, and so we had her fax it over to Sonia.
What,
While I was over there.
I'll throw this out here, what about this? With some of the commissioners, some of them may be a little uneasy right now. What if we were to postpone this a month and bring back the job description and bring it back for the committee? And kind of, it may give some of the commissioners a little comfort by doing that. Is that agreeable? Or do y'all want to vote on it tonight, or?
I'd rather see the job description myself.
Okay.
It'd make me feel a little bit better, and then maybe elaborate a little bit. Are you relying on Sonia for your HR direction, or?
No, we go to Sonia for advice. We still do our own HR.
Is this for all three that y'all are talking about, or are we gonna, or is this just her position? Or are we gonna maybe talk about all threes individually? Because the warrants officer from corporal to sergeant, to me, that's kind of a no-brainer. That was explained and it's understood that that's switching. I think we could go ahead and do that one tonight. I'd be comfortable doing that one. I don't, not the other two until we saw the, and we hadn't really hit on the warehouse inventory control. I'm still a little confused on that one, but the communications.
Consolidation of two
Yeah,
positions.
that's
Okay.
consolidation of two
Okay, well-
positions into one.
Yeah.
Okay, well then that one makes sense to me too then.
But does that mean you got one less person doing them, since this one person's gonna
One
do it?
person's now taking
Yeah,
on two
two
people's
people's
job,
job.
because the other person we had, we needed another person in booking because of some of the immigration issues that we've had. And so we had to figure out a way to kind of help booking out, so it was easy, let's pull this person, send them over there. ISIS, it came from from the Army, she was a sergeant in supply for the Army. She has been doing the equipment side on the sheriff's office side. And so then there was also a equipment side on the jail side. And actually, the jail side made more money than what she did on the sheriff's office side. On the sheriff's office side, it was a pay grade 6, it was a corporal position. And so when we sent that corporal over to booking, we needed somebody that's still gonna issue out toilet paper, toothbrushes, for inmate clothing, also officer uniforms, to keep up with all that stuff. And so we brought her over to do both jobs.
Is she the same lady that does the, I don't know, the meeting that I come to that day, I don't know what the word is I'm trying to use here, for the assigning or whatever from, the workhouse?
No,
it's a different.
no.
It's a that's a different.
Yeah,
That's classification.
Yeah, that's classification.
Classification was the
Yeah,
word I was trying.
Yeah.
Different.
Okay.
This lady, if you remember last time you were out there, she was in an office beside Bailey's out there, outside. And we've moved her now back into the jail, and she's taking care of everything outside and also within the jail.
Okay.
Basically, we needed another person, and so this is a way we can find it, because if we had to pull this person back, that means we're gonna be short in booking again, and we've been dealing with multiple lawsuits and booking when it comes to immigration issues and stuff, and people getting out and stuff like that, and so we're hoping that this will get a handle on that. We've got a lot more stuff that we've gotta talk about at a later time about those problems, but we're hoping that this will at least start us towards the right way.
Okay. All right, is there any item on here that anybody wants to bring up?
I'll make a motion to vote on the bottom two positions, the inventory, position 2000 and position 1427C. You see where it says position on instead of their names underneath? I would motion to approve those two positions. The last two, yes.
These are both promotions from corporal to sergeant, and from deputy to sergeant?
Well, yes.
Those are both promotions? Okay.
And one of them was, the first one was a 2-into-1, and then the second one was a vacated position, correct? I'll make that motion.
All right, is there a second to his motion?
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second.
Now, the one that's in the middle here, the position 2000 inventory, you've got a written job description that covers both these jobs that you've consolidated? Is that what you're telling
Basically,
me?
we've got a job description for the jail side, we've got a job description for the sheriff's office side, and you're just putting them together.
And this is the way it's gonna be forever then?
Yes.
Yeah.
One person is gonna be
Yes.
doing for both sides?
Correct.
So,
We've moved
you know,
on
I
to
can vote on that one tonight, but can you have those consolidated when you get the one for, the first position?
Yeah.
So you really need to do it, right? I mean, since one person's gonna do them for the future.
Yeah, we won't ever split this back out.
Okay. If you do, you.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be back.
So the motion that's on the floor is to do the position 2000,
To approve.
to approve the position 2000, position 1427C. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Any more discussion?
Well, yeah, a lot more discussion. It's rare, and I can understand the one that we're not voting on as far as doing that in the middle of budget year. But we cannot go through our budgets and change our budgets in the middle of our budget year. And that's what you're asking me to do here. And that's what I've got a problem with. Now, I'm not saying these aren't warranted, but I'm saying I've got a fixed budget. If my household budget's fixed, and buddy, I don't have the money to come up with the difference there. You see what I'm talking about?
And if I didn't have
That's-
the money in my budget, I wouldn't do it. That's what, my first question to him was, can we afford to do this? Yes, we can, okay.
Well, I can pull these back, and you just got through telling me we don't have enough money in this other budget, and you're gonna have to ask for more money. So you may be able to move it from this side of this budget right now, but if you look at the budget as a whole, you're gonna have to go into the unfunded budget to pull it out of, over what you're budgeted for the year when you're doing this. And I mean, I'm all for helping these people, but I'm saying it needs to happen in July instead of right now. That's my take on it.
Right,
Now,
that's
the one,
fine, yeah.
the other one, now that's a horse of a different color. That's something I'll have to give a little thought to and have to see the job description. And I can understand not losing personnel that are highly trained, that we would cost us a lot of money to retrain. I can see that, and I can see the need. But these others, I mean, and you know, I know one of these officers, and they do a wonderful job, and I've got a great admiration for them. But if it was my wife, it'd be a flat no. So that's where I'm at right now. Maybe I need to think on it some more, but.
But, and the reason why we're asking is because these people are doing these jobs, and
I
so
understand.
therefore, you know.
I understand, and you're
yeah,
kind of in a
honest
rock
days
and a
work for
hard.
honest days pay. If we're gonna ask you to do this job, then I think that we ought to pay them to do the job. So, and that's That's why we're here instead of waiting till July. We can wait till July if that's what y'all want.
Mayor.
A little bit of add-on to what Commissioner P is saying. If every position was filled in every department, if you made any of these kinds of changes, you would have to pay for them out of ending fund balance. The only reason he has money, he has positions that haven't been filled all of the course of the year. So if you do this, when we do the budgeting process, you'll have and you don't add any other employees, these promotions will make you have to increase next year's budget.
And if we do this tonight, then next month, get the county clerk over here. But she's got some gal, that's something the state's come out with, that's, she's got somebody down there that's got highly trained and some, I don't know, we'll say.
We've got a couple more in our budget that we're gonna do, because the state's come out with several more mandates on several offices that we've gotta come up with and change some things, so there are several more mandates coming down.
I mean, it would be cleaner if it was done in July. You know, it'd be a whole lot cleaner if it was done that way.
Oh,
And we've done that in the past. I mean, I don't like it, none of us like it here, and it's just like you said, you know, if they're doing this job, they deserve the pay. And you're not getting an argument from me on that. You know, like I said, you're in a rock and a hard place there, and I can't think of a way to help you without, you know, basically going against principles we don't need to be going against, so.
if I don't ask, I don't know.
I understand. Well, the answer's always no if you don't ask.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I understand.
So, at least.
But Officer Moore's not gonna wait till July.
I believe she, you know, the thing is, legitimately, she knows I'm here. I'm fighting for her. That's the big thing. And so, I mean, if this has to wait till July, then we'll put it in the budget. But she knows I'm here and I'm fighting for her, and I'm trying to do everything I can for my guys. That's the big thing, that they really wanna know. That here it is, that they've got to work hard to do certain things, and I'm willing to fight for them. That's the big thing that they want to hear.
Let me ask a question on position 1427. The sergeant position, when was it vacated?
For WIT,
Yeah,
it was the one we absorbed out of the narcotic fund. Basically, we absorbed one, so we had to send the sergeant position that was in civil process, we had to send it to patrol. Because we absorbed one, basically, we lost one over here, so we had to replace it. And so then we moved WIT to take care of that sergeant's position, because WIT had been the sergeant in civil process before I took office.
but wouldn't that, but that, I may have misunderstood, but wouldn't that position still already be there now?
Yeah, he's right here, he's this position over, he's a corporal. He's now doing the job of a sergeant,
Right.
because we
I know,
lost.
what I'm saying though is, when the sergeant's position that he's actually doing, filling in for now, it was there.
Mhm.
Is it still in the budget?
Is there a
different
vacant
budget.
sergeant's
No.
position you're moving this person
No.
into?
No,
There's not.
because we did away completely with one sergeant. It was out in the narcotics fund budget.
He's trying to absorb the funds and pay for the narcotics
Narcotics
position
Remember we
by
had
moving
6
this
positions
position
that-
over.
That I'm paying for out of the narcotics fund.
Right.
The narcotic fund can't, we're gonna lose our narcotics division this year. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out some way to put it on life support, so we had to absorb a position. So we had to move a person out to keep the manpower over in patrol. We moved a sergeant out of civil process over to patrol because we absorbed a narcotics position. So then I had to ask WIT to step up and do the job that he was used to doing as a sergeant, he's now doing as a corporal. We lost a body,
Okay.
you know.
Any questions?
I think we might need to look at just waiting and doing this in July. I mean, it would make a lot more sense doing all of it at one time. with the new budget?
Well, we got a motion on the floor.
Mr. Chairman, I'll rescind my motion. Hearing everybody out and, you know, the situation we've got, and I hate to do this because I hate not paying somebody for something they're not doing. I've experienced that myself in my own work, driving a fire engine, and I don't get paid for it. I might have to drive the fire engine 5 or 6 days a month. I don't get paid a dime extra. You know, I'm still stuck on step one. I've been there almost 6 years, so I understand how bad it sucks. But, you know, we got jobs, you know, and we're going to try to make this right in July. We're not, and that's what these people need to realize. We're not trying to give them the shaft for the rest of the year, or for forever how long. We're going to try to make this right in July, but we got to kind of do it the right way. So I'll rescind my motion, Mr. Chairman.
With the maker of the second, rescind his motion.
Let me ask a question first, or two. This position, 1427, for the sergeant position, we lost the sergeant's position, so we're just replacing that sergeant's position. So the money should already be there, right?
No.
That was
It's
a
because
budget
he's
job.
moved the narcotics
Narcotics was
position.
paying for it, not the budget,
That's
the
what I
county
thought, that's
budget
why I-
was not paying for it. Narcotics, basically it was extra money over here. And so when we lost a position over here, and we lost the body, and we moved people around, we were one body short in patrol. So we moved that body over here, so now we're a body short here. And so we're gonna stay a body short, we're just gonna move a person that's a corporal, or actually, we've already done it. He's a corporal, we're moving him up to sergeant. So technically, we've lost the corporal, because now the corporal is doing, we've still lost a body within the department. And we still have less coverage within the county. But that's something we're having to do. It's just, you know, we've talked numerous ways about the other 6 positions. Do I pull those 6 positions from patrol? Do I pull them from, you know, there's been one thought thrown on the table, pulling them from SRO. There's been one thought of just doing away with the narcotics division completely. You know, so, you know, that's why I've been trying to meet with each and every one of y'all individually to talk about, is we've got these problems. And so we're trying to fix these problems, because these were inherited problems with our budget. And we've got to figure out a way to fix it, but we've got to, you know, work these out. And that's what I'm trying to do, is slowly work this stuff out.
So this 1427 that we've been talking about didn't exist?
Yes. He existed as a corporal. Basically, you have me, let's say I'm a corporal, he's a sergeant. We sent him on back. Now, I'm just gonna step in and do what he's doing, but I'm still a corporal, but now I'm doing a sergeant's job. I should be, you know, compensated for doing the extra paperwork and all that. And since we're asking him to do all those job responsibilities, now we have a responsibility to pay him accordingly, because we pay all the other sergeants compensation to do those jobs.
I'm real thick-headed. I apologize, you guys, but to me, there's a sergeant's position there. That's what he just said.
Are you gonna have to promote somebody from officer to corporal?
No.
The sergeant's position was transferred.
Right.
So that he could fund one of the narcotics positions. So they took it out of that and moved it over so that person could serve in the role of narcotics.
And left him a sergeant.
And left no opening. That position was moved.
I'm not sure I can follow that.
There's not a
whole-
sergeant job there, but he's doing what
He's
it's
doing
a
the sergeant.
sergeant's job.
We cut a position in narcotics last year and moved a position from patrol to narcotics. Well, there was an open coverage. There was no longer a position there. They needed extra positions in patrol. So now one is moved from this
Basically, it's.
civil warrants. That
Well, it's
position
got me
now is
confused,
moved.
And I've gotta know who's on first and who's on second. Okay, yes.
I guess what I'm thinking right now is that if this person is doing a sergeant's job, I don't think we got a choice. I think we need to pay those folks for what they're worth.
There isn't a sergeant's job there.
Okay.
I think you're thinking right. I mean, they basically abolished the sergeant's position out of that division and moved it to another position. So they took that person that was getting the sergeant's pay, and he's in another division now, so it's basically left this one without a sergeant's position, and he'd like to move him up. I mean, he's basically lost a person out of this group to maintain somebody over in narcotics.
So now I have a lieutenant and then I have a corporal, and the corporal's doing the sergeant's job.
The corporal's still doing what he's been doing?
Yes, but now he's managing more. He's got the people still under him, but yeah, he's doing his job and what the sergeant was kind of doing. He's having to fill in and do both.
Okay.
One other question, or unless you're not.
Well, let me ask this quick. Right now, we got the motion is rescinded, and I need to find out is.
I'll remove my second.
Okay.
All
All right.
my second.
All right, so we're open for discussion. Okay.
Okay, here-
I'm just trying to, Robert's rules of order.
Okay, thank you again, you're right. The only other thing I wanted to say, I'd like to go ahead and pursue this other, as far as the pay grade for this first position we were talking about. Please bring that to us next month, so we at least got time to look at it. We can decide then, is that something we need to address right now, or is that something we can wait till July on? But we do need to go ahead and see that position, that way we'll know ahead of time, and we'll have some time to think about this stuff.
Now I'll have a copy of it dropped in the mailbox tomorrow to y'all.
I'd really like for Ms. Stevenson to be here if it's at all possible, and just to get her input. You said you've talked with her, and I'd just like to ask her, does this kind of adhere to policy that we've been trying to establish, real policy and not?
But we have our own separate policies from her.
I understand, but you
There's
said,
no-
you said you
We
used her
go
as a
to her- we go to
consultant,
her
and
for
you
a
also
policy.
said that you've used her in this one, and I'd
Yes.
like her input in this one.
That's
Maybe
In addition to that, we will have the finance director clearly be able to explain exactly his position. We'll couple that with Ms. Stevenson's.
Okay. All right.
There's one more thing then, since we're gonna do that. Can you also get the one up for this, inventory and warehouse, so it's all one?
Yeah, we'll get all of it.
Okay.
We'll have it all ready.
All right.
Picture of that.
All right.
And you got-
That's it.
All we got next is the report, right? You'll look over and if there's any questions on the report.
Is anything out of whack? No,
Gasoline.
I will be telling you that gasoline's out of whack, food is gonna be a problem. But I'm working on it, so.
Any updates on the kitchen?
I let out the bid,
bid-
and
bid
I
opening.
believe, what was the name of the company?
R.G. Anderson.
R.G. Anderson.
With a low bid of $1,169,900.
We were about 20,000 under our estimate, I believe.
I think it was
Yes.
11,190.
At this point, when will we be up and running?
200-day contract.
There goes a year.
Yeah. And I think the predicted date was around November 1st, we'll be back in it.
Nancy hadn't quit, has she?
No.
No.
Okay,
We've
good.
begged them several times, so.
I think things are running a little bit smoother though. She's managed to, they've made some changes on what they're doing, and life's a little bit easier for her. So
ABL's got a new
she's a little bit
manager.
happier now, so.
She's had a hard time.
Yeah, she has. She's really had a hard time.
Is there a motion on this report?
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried, Mayor.
There's a couple of other items, he may have them in his hand.
Well, no, I got something after that, I was gonna invite you up for.
Oh, okay.
Are you talking about property management stuff?
Yes. Yeah, well, okay, first, there is some money that TBA has paid into the state of Tennessee for mitigation of the ash spill, I think. In other words, it amounts to several $1 million a year they're paying over to the state. So there's some funds available for energy efficiency improvements, et cetera. So that is up to $250,000 is what you can get. And there is a match of 20%. So if we got a $250,000 project, we'd have to put up $50,000 and we'd be awarded at $200,000. There is a process that's proven and tested and already been used, and Tennessee Tech's already got money approved to do the same kind of thing, but we can put in a heat recovery unit, and I don't know the technical language to talk to you about, that would basically supply all of the hot water for the jail. And it would save many dollars of utility costs. We have to engage an engineer to help us craft this grant application and actually compute the savings and put those savings into the application that we make. So we have until March the 30th to submit an application like this. And we've met with a person, not an engineer, but a person that has supplied this type of recovery unit. So we'd like for permission to request, to make an application for this energy savings grant through the state of Tennessee using that TVA money.
Can you repeat the numbers?
All right, the grant, the maximum we can apply for is $250,000, and we'd have to match 20% of that. And coupled with that, we do need some ability to hire an engineer to help us with this development of this application, maybe $5,000 to $10,000.
Any rough guesstimate as to what percentage of savings that might be? Is there any?
I don't have a rough number, quite honestly, we don't, but I think our $50,000 could be recovered in a year or two.
Well, if you apply for it, is it pretty much of a certainty that you're gonna get at least a chunk of it?
I think there's a reasonably good chance we
Okay.
can. I mean, the state is going to administer whoever gets these, they're going to approve them, so I think we have some leverage there.
But how much is this system gonna cost?
It'll cost under $250,000.
So we need to get pretty close to the whole
There's a
thing.
lot of other benefits that will be able to be achieved later. We won't go into those, but it could potentially extend the life of our chiller system down there if we continue through this process substantially, which would be major dollars.
Do you need funds now to hire the
I
engineer?
need authorization to, on a professional basis, to get somebody to help us write this grant, so not to exceed $10,000.
Where would that money come from?
We've got to come out of, it's going to have to come out of general fund.
Can it be paid back out of this grant?
It could be paid back if we receive the grant, yes, sir.
Can't come.
We'll put that money will be placed into our grant, but I gotta have some upfront to do the application.
One last question, and I'm in favor of doing this. I think, anytime we can go a little greener, if it's putting solar panels on top of that building out there, you'd get my attention, or geothermal, something to keep those utilities and fuel costs down. So I'm in favor of doing this. Just a question or two. Our public building authority, we don't have anybody that would be qualified to help us do this. I was thinking.
Mechanical engineer is what we need, and there would be someone qualified there. We would have to pay whoever we get. I talked to Mr. Klein, he uses, we have subs on all of these projects. We'd have to pay somebody. I think that we may try to see if the person who is an engineer at Tennessee Tech that has already done this application for them and put a similar system, I want to see if he might would do it for us. I don't know if he will or not, but we'd have to pay Tennessee Tech, but we gotta pay someone. I don't know exactly where we can get the best deal, but it would be really nice if, since he already knows this whole application and this process, if we could use him.
Would there be money in the mayor's fund? Don't you have sometime, I don't know, we may have used it already this year.
No, we still got some money. You still have money in there. But
Whatever money we use, we can recoup.
We can recoup, yes, sir.
From the grant.
And this is money, this grant's from TVA?
Well, TVA has paid into the state of Tennessee a substantial amount of money to mitigate this ash spill, and this is the way they're sort of parceling it back out to municipalities, universities, et cetera, government agencies, basically.
What do you need from us?
I need a motion to approve the application for these funds, and coupled with that, an expenditure allow us of up to $10,000 to hire. She's already got that all written out. Excuse me, Ms. Shelton.
I didn't have the 10,000.
Okay.
Approve applying for a TVA grant through the state of Tennessee up to $250,000 with 20% match, and engaging a mechanical engineer to assist up to $10,000.
Is there a maker of the motion?
To approve.
Second. There's a motion and a second. All right. Any discussion of the motion on the floor? Hearing or seeing none, I guess do we need a roll call? Money?
I'd be fine. Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we've had, this is item number 2 we're moving to. We've had discussions over a substantial period of time now about additional space for the sheriff's office. And of course, we're doing something to help with the kitchen situation. That's independent of the discussion, but other space, we know is still short, and we need some additional space. So what we've had some consideration, and we've had 2 discussions now with the Property Management Committee. What we would like for you to consider and discuss is the acquisition of some space and the renovation of some space that would potentially allow them to move some of their divisions and departments out. The architect has already worked with them, and they've sort of identified those units that they could move in a functional way. And we've sort of guesstimated how much space that would take. In any event, without having to go into details about any particular location, and we don't have one identified, but we would like to suggest that if we had the authority to enter serious negotiations for up to $1 million for both the acquisition and the renovation and making them ready for occupancy spaces, that this could likely postpone, and we don't know how many years, 3 to 5 years, maybe or more, the need for the major $8 or $9 or $10 million project that we were talking about before. Of course, we've already spent $1.2 million of that on the kitchen, so it's already down $1.2 million. So in any event, we'd like for you to give serious consideration to this, discuss this, and if public safety concurs with property management, move this on the budget and see if budget think there's any rational way to fund this, and then before we take any serious action about actually trying to identify and locate it and make a serious offer on a piece of property.
Are you talking about during this fiscal budget year, or are you talking about after July? I mean, I know it would take a while to do the renovation, so it would definitely be probably afterwards, but.
We could make a commitment to actually go ahead and acquire the property even now, but it'd be up to budget to see if they think that's in the best consideration for the county. We can discuss that with them, and there are some potential possibilities that can be done relatively effectively.
But you said the word acquisition, not lease.
Acquisition.
Well, I've looked at some of his leasing, and we'd be better off with the buying it, excuse me. But I've seen, you sent me that report, and it's not a good report to look at what we're leasing right now. So we'd probably be saving us some money potentially there.
We're talking about moving some administrative offices from the jail?
No, we're talking about moving probably.
Not the jail.
Not the jail. We're talking about moving the detective division, probably the patrol division, some other divisions and other little personnel out
From the jail?
from the jail.
Where did you come up with $1 million?
Well, we came up with that sort of looking through the marketplace and knowing how many square feet we sort of need. He only has a limited number of things you can really move functionally without affecting his operations. So looking at those and how many square feet they might take and the storage we might need and some of the other things he's already leasing space for, we sorted back into how many square feet we think would take to do this. And that projects forward to a dollar for a piece of property that one might have to acquire.
Basically, this would be just loosening the belt, a notch or two.
Do you have your eye on something, or you just kind of?
We do have 1 or 2 serious potential places that we think would fit this requirement.
I'll make the motion, then we forward this to budget, the idea of a committee finding some space for the sheriff.
I'll second it and ask you to bring along what we were talking, that report you gave me, so budget's got an idea of what we're spending on leasing right now.
But we've talked about this in umpteen committee, this one several times and all, I
Well, it made
mean,
it
I know
back to-
you need some room.
It made it back to budget, budget sent it back to property management for another consideration and for us to come together, and we've been working together
So
for a
this is
while.
the second time through.
But he's doing exactly what we asked him to do when it's came back to us, so I appreciate it.
All right, we got a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing or seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion's carried.
Next, I told y'all that I would bring this before y'all and I'd give you 24 hours notice before I gave the media. No. This is our statistics for the year.
You got an extra one?
They'll be getting their copy.
He's out of luck.
Yeah.
Okay.
He can
I
write
thought since he
quick.
was here,
He can
yeah.
write quick or get the email in the morning.
There you go.
I may give him my copy when I leave. I may be nice to the Daily News Journal. Basically, you can see here, crime's up in the county, 17.1%. We've got it broke down into some of our bigger areas. See, in 2010, we didn't have any homicides. We had 2 last year. And I've got the explanations on each and every one of these broke down on everything for you. Rapes are up, robberies are up, assaults up, burglaries up, theft is up, theft and motor vehicles is up. The one thing that's gone down out of all this is arson, down by 1.
In 4 pages.
Yeah.
For the gasoline.
Diesel's high.
So
I
it's
tried to burn
kerosene.
some burn piles today, it didn't work.
But we've responded to a lot more calls for service all the way through the county. I meant to highlight my copy. I apologize, I did not.
So this is, I'm sorry, this is, in all of Rutherford County.
This is everything that we do. This is the sheriff's office. No, this is not
Outside the city
Murfreesboro
limits.
Cities or Smyrna's or Laverne's. This is just Rutherford County Sheriff's Office. This is just what we deal with.
Unincorporated areas.
Yes. Now, we do respond. We've had numerous phone calls within inside the city of Smyrna, Laverne, and Murfreesboro lately where people have called and just really demanded that they wanted us to come out to do stuff. And naturally, we respond. I mean, if a citizen is adamant that they want the sheriff's office at their house, for whatever reason, we'll go. I mean, we service all the citizens of the county. And that, we'll try to tell them that they do have the city to take care of their problems, but there are some people that are adamant that they just want us. So we'll go. Yes, it does.
Any questions on stats?
Could you just, in my ignorant mind, as far as the difference between what a robbery is, a burglary, and a theft? What,
Robbery is where they, well, let's see exactly how they broke this down. Theft is just something if you had stolen off your property. Motor vehicle definitely is from your car. Robbery is, let's see, that's 21. That's for your home. They broke into your house.
breaking in my house?
Yes. Because if we've had 3 big rings within the past year. If you remember last month, I was talking about the ring that had been going on out towards Eagleville and Christiana. and they'd hit like 6 houses. Well, when we recovered, when we got to those people, then
Probably differentiate them somehow.
we took down that whole ring, and there was about 6 people that were doing all those. And so then whenever we did that, we only had one that whole week.
And what's the burglary?
Kind of along the same lines, except it could be. They're broke down within the department and within the.
Someone's stealing something.
Someone's stealing, it's all broke down.
And a lot of times it's gonna be the dollar amount that's been,
Yes.
and then the act that occurred, the cause.
And how they've done it, you know, it could be kicking in the door. There's little subtle changes, but it could still be the same thing, but
Just how it's
yet
classified.
how it's classified. Of course, naturally, our population's way up compared to what it was 10 years ago.
Is this statistic from last year or from 10 years ago?
No, this is from last year. This is, you compare last year's to this year.
When you said that, it kind of threw me, so, okay.
Anybody else? All right, anything else?
So yes, I have one more thing. All the letters of commendation. And we have, we have 6 life-saving awards. We'll be doing a presentation on here pretty soon. I'll be sending you out invitations on those here before long. Also, I'd like to mention that we are having an open house at the jail on March 10th from 2 to 5. We'd love to see each and every one of you all there. And also Wednesday, I believe it's at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, we are having the grand opening for the new dispatch. So I hope to see each and every one of y'all there. Y'all will be getting a letter in the mail.
When's that again?
That's Wednesday. But then the open house is on March 10th from 2 to 5.
And dispatches?
This Wednesday.
Okay, what,
Was it the
30th,
1st?
29th.
29th.
what time?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
You know, each month, I think we give these and go through them, we read quite a bit of them. It's good to see that, just like the ambulance service and the sheriff's department, and I think others that do the same thing, there's a lot of good, work that our employees are doing out there, and it's good to read about.
I've got a question for you, Sheriff.
Yes,
They'll have an open door.
Is your name in here?
No.
Well, the reason I say that, if y'all didn't catch the news story, the sheriff apprehended an escapee, him and a corporal, very quickly the other day, and I wanted to say thanks. And I think you ought to be in this, so I appreciate it.
No one's willing to write a good letter on your behalf?
If you would like, it would go with, Sonia will put it in my personnel file.
Write it up for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For your time.
All right, pause.
I gotta go too.
No. Yeah, we're just now gonna get started budgets.
Can we take a 5-minute recess, do you mind? Is it possible? He's gone, I gotta go to the restaurant. Unless y'all wanna.
We still got a quorum.
Okay, we'll keep going.
I hate to, if we get, we'll never get it back in. All right, do the report first and we'll.
Yes, sir. For the month of January, you can see that we took in 488 animals. 38.2% came from the county jurisdictions, 11.5% from the city of Laverne, 32.8% from the city of Murfreesboro, and 17.5% came from the town of Smyrna.
You can see that we had 134 animals that were adopted back out, and the total animals back out is 458. That left us with animals in the shelter at the end of January of 90. We had 2,073 people visit the shelter looking for a new or lost pet, and 2,004 logged calls and voicemails for the month of January. On the second page, you can see that we had 1,258 calls received into the shelter, and 1,304 calls were completed. You can see the breakdown again of the jurisdictions of where those calls were received from, and we had 9,552 miles for the month. Page 3 is our fiscal year to date. We've taken in 5,157 animals this fiscal year to date. That is up by around 350 animals or so over last year. 5,197 animals went back out. You can see the breakdown there, the adoption rate of 23.6%. 14,365 people have come to the shelter since July the 1st, and we've had 15,920 logged calls. For the year, we've had 9,392 calls received, 9,426 calls that were completed, and a little over 71,000 miles traveled by our officers. The last page of this is our bite report for the month of January. Everything else goes according to fiscal years, but our bites we do according to calendar year. We had 31 bites for the month. 6 animals were tested by the department, and 0 of those tested positive. For our other exposure, we had 8 animals, or 8 other exposures, and 4 of those were tested. No positives for the month of animals that we actually sent off. We did assist the state with a rabid horse in Eagleville. The horse died just kind of unexpectedly. The owner sent that off to the state, and they tested it for rabies, and it did test positive. Our department followed up with that owner there and with the state's coordination to make sure that there weren't any other exposure to other animals and those type of things. So it is still out there, even though we're not seeing the positives.
Entertain a motion on his report.
Motion to approve.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. You got a budget amendment?
Yes, sir. We're asking to move, the first part of this is we're asking to move money within our budget, from our advertising, our medical and dental services, our uniforms, and our other equipment line to go into our maintenance agreement. If you recall that we had, our software contract had went up for this year, and we're also doing some things that we used to send out. We're doing those in-house, so our copier maintenance has gone up. However, it's still cheaper than what when we were sending those things out. So we're asking for money there. And then we're also asking to move money over from our donation line into our veterinary services line. If you recall, we've done this before as well. We still have the vouchers that are coming in, paying out to these veterinarians, so we're just kind of limping that line along.
That seems get a motion. Is there a motion or a question on the request?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any questions, comments? Call the roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Pease?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. All right, go right into his budget.
How would you all like me to go through this?
If you could just kind of we got the amount down here, the request, and last year's, if you could kind of hit the areas that we may have increased.
Okay.
Is that kind of how the committee would like to go?
Significant changes.
Yes, sir. The first significant change you'll see is the line 161 and the line 164. We took the administrative assistant position and we're reclassifying that position to an officer. We're not asking for any new positions, only to do away with the assistant position and put that position over into an officer position.
That's a net savings of
It is a net
$25,000
savings. It is a net savings.
plus benefits.
If you'll see from the bottom, it's around a $35,000 increase. The biggest majority of that is line 205, which is employee independent insurance. That number comes straight from finance. You can see that that's $25,000 of the increase there is employee health insurance. The next line that you're going to see a pretty significant increase is line 210, unemployment. We have 5,000 in that line now. That number is provided by finance, but we've overspent that line this year. they'll have to do a budget amendment, out of the pool. Finance has recommended that we increase that to 10,000 this year, so that's another 5,000, so that's 30,000 up to 35 there. Everything else is just very small increases, $500 here, $500 there and whatnot, just due to, the maintenance agreements, the cost of things going up. And then, of course, the salary information is provided by finance, that's a little bit of money there. Once you take out the unemployment and you take out the health insurance, I think it only came out to, what did we say, a $5,000 increase over our total budget.
You see that 357, the veterinary services went down 11, but we had to increase drugs and medical supplies to support the vet 14,000, so that was sort of a net out there.
And that was a good article in the paper today about it.
That was an excellent
Yeah,
article. Very good.
How are you looking on gasoline this year? I mean, I'm just trying to project a little bit.
We're running right at where we should be. The increase in price is gonna hurt us. When I met with the mayor last week to go over this budget, he had indicated that he thought we were gonna be looking at some savings through a new fueling system.
Well, that 35, is that basically what we spent to date, or is that what you're estimating you're gonna end with?
No, 35 is what we have budgeted for the entire year. That is, which line is that, sir? 425.
Well, I was actually looking at an amended budget for 11 and 12, but I see that's what you're asking for
Right,
the
we
next.
budgeted 35, and I think we had 35 the previous year. You'll see that we spent 32, so it's fairly tight.
And for 6 months, we've spent 17,
17,000.
roughly 34, 5 already.
Okay.
Good, two questions. Communication, what does that entail?
Our communication is gonna be our normal phone lines, AT&T, Bell South. It also includes Verizon that we use. We have the push-to-talk that all the officers have that we use out in the field, and it also includes our pager service.
Okay. So it's nothing postal or anything, it's just actual?
No, postal would all be out of the 348.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then on the unemployment compensation?
Yes, sir.
Why is it almost 10,000 this year now? Is that where people were let go and they,
Federal government.
No, it's all because of the state and federal government.
increasing that?
And it's all because of our inability to get reasoned decisions out of the appeals. I mean, there's,
But we haven't.
we have not let anyone go because of lack of work.
Yeah.
That we would have agreed that they deserved unemployment, but there has been a change in attitude about the appeals process. When we say we don't agree with them, we're not winning those like we should be.
Okay.
And this is
So
happening
even some of them-
routinely. It's very disappointing.
For instance, one case that we had that Ms. Sonia worked on, as well as the lawyer's office across the street, we won twice. And then someone came back and changed it after we had already won twice and said, no, you lose. And it was to the point to where, the decision had to be made, are we gonna go to court over this? Was it gonna cost more to go to court than it's just gonna be to pay out the benefits? So the decision was made to pay the benefits.
Who changed it? Was it the feds or the state?
Not the feds. This is
There's a
we know
panel.
more about it. There's a panel down there.
There's a panel of lawyers that has, that you take the final appeal to.
That's part of the problem.
Now, does this include the pay plan for those that will get a step this year in what you have?
That's a good opening question. It does include the steps that are due to be paid, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to do this. But at the last stop, when we look at all of the consolidations on the budgets, we'll have to review that. But it's in here in these numbers.
So it is there now. To make sure I heard that right, it is
in the
in there.
numbers, yes, right now.
And what percent is it?
Well, those that get it, it's.
3.5%. I think the step is
375, I believe.
Something like, it's every 2 years, so how many get it will vary by department percentage-wise.
Is
But
189 the van?
Yes, sir, it is. Yes, sir.
All right, is there any other questions on the budget? Is there a motion to send the budget on?
Mayor Burgess, you've looked at that and
Yes, we have.
we'll move to send it on with a favorable recommendation.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Well, as long as we got insurance, there's nothing you do there if they elect to take it during the period, right?
Thank you. Next is the Correctional Work Center.
Everybody doing?
Good, you doing all right?
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me. Thank you.
That first page reflects the last board meeting on the 6th, February 6th, 2012. Discussed the DUI school being held on the premises. Ms. Mary Snyder with drug court came and presented a proposal on how it would be conducted. And, her and Captain Coach give a little vision to the board and how the program would benefit the inmates there at the Correctional Work Center. We're still in the process of getting that rescue in process because we found out we have to be approved through the state, have to come in and review the site and approve that the facility. So Schneider's working on getting that scheduled for us, but everything is definitely a go with putting that DUI school there, Correctional Work Center. Next was the report of expenditures. Some of those amendments were presented here last month. They passed through. We're also going to be one of the facilities and agencies that's going to be under the time clock management system. I believe there's maybe 3 or 4 agencies already currently under that. Or we use a ID card that's scanned in, punches in, and punches out. And so we're running time computation, which at the end of the 2-week period will be submitted to finance. That should help us a lot in keeping accountability and looking at our overtime and areas of those concerns. So we're working with OIT and the finance department to get that started up. Discuss the ACA audit, which is still scheduled for May 21st. We started art classes with Ms. Ann Crothers. That's going into about a month. That's going great. Inmates are very receptive to it.
Did you take any classes?
Am I taking it?
Yeah.
No, sir. Captain Cove is very good at art, so he's been really hands-on, and he's doing a good job of that program with Ms. Crothers. TCI inspection, Tennessee Correction Institute inspected our facility. That's a yearly inspection, and they gave us some really good reports and high praise. And we were grateful of that. We did pass.
So the tile in your bathrooms in your kitchen area is good shape now.
Yes, and one of our employees did a great job. Sergeant Peralta, inmate assistants, and they looks real good. Spoke to Ms. Laura Bowling, General Sessions clerk, and just to make sure that we were collecting the inmate board bills. And she said she is, and actually she's even implemented a division just to target people that owed back payment for that. So she's doing a great job in collecting those fees. I believe we're charging $20 a day for housing.
Any questions on his report? Had a motion.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. And something on the budget.
Budget?
Looks like we've got about a $89,000 increase over last year.
Approximately, yes.
There's one primary place where most, well, two really, there's no changes basically in the salary components. They're what they are, based on the same staffing pattern. There's a bit of increase in the employee independent insurance. Again, that's just what they compute based on the mix of people we have and what coverage they have. That's about, that's only about $6,000 there. The real substantial, well, we've got some maintenance agreements, 334 is up 5,000. Building repairs up 2,000. Equipment repairs up 5,000. So we've had some increases, especially in the kitchen with our increased usage of this equipment. That's going to continue for a bit of time. But the biggie is with the contracted services we have for food, laundry, medical, et cetera, we haven't had any increases in those in a few years, have we, Superintendent? 2 or 3 or more.
Right.
So we're expecting we're gonna have to pay. We have not negotiated this yet, but it could be this much, and that's about $64,000 we've sort of placed there as it's a potential increase. We'll work on those as hard as we can, but there are going to be some increases in that, the food cost and the, not necessarily the laundry probably, but the medical cost that we're providing. And all those little list of things that he has down there on 399.
Speaking of food, are you doing a garden with any of your inmates there?
We do have a garden.
Okay, just to make sure. I was thinking that you did, but.
Right. We don't feed the inmates with it. We donated the last couple of years to homeless shelters, and, abused women homes, stuff like that. But it's just something, an incentive for the inmates to get out and, learn something or gardening. And that's the inmate, the staff also. So it's been a great program.
Good.
Is there any other questions on his budget?
It says here, talking, the amended budget for 2011, 2012. What was the approved budget at July 1st? That wasn't that amended budget, correct? Because things come out throughout the year, but you can have, this includes monies that were perhaps weren't spent the year before on a grant or something like that, that now shows up now in the amended budget, right? Because if we put it back in from unassigned
We don't
fund.
have any grant money.
Okay, but I'm just saying, isn't that what comes out into the amended budget?
Let's say this, the amended budget in the total is what we started out with. The only budget amendments, we've not amended anything out of any fund
Okay.
balance. We may have moved something from one department or another. That's about all we've done, so, but all of this stuff up here in the top piece, we didn't have some of these positions filled, but all of those, and we've used some of those monies out of captains and lieutenants to feed down into overtime and those kinds of things. But I can't tell you precisely what the numbers were, but everything's been done within this department's budget.
Okay, so the amended is basically what was approved on June 26th last year, or whatever it was.
Correct,
Okay.
except like I did tell you, we may have used some captain's funds or some lieutenant's
Yeah.
funds down
I
into
got you.
overtime or part-time or whatever, but we've had to do some of that a little bit.
You know, why I'm asking that is because I think in the sheriffs, for one thing, that they get a lot that they having grants or something, and other things that they don't spend in the one fiscal year, and it rolls into the general fund and then comes back into their fund later. That's
That
why I
may
was
be true,
wondering.
but we don't have anything like that here.
In this one, okay.
Now, did we get that straightened out? I think it was the maintenance agreement with Lynn's bunch. We've got that straightened out in this budget.
Yeah, his
He's
budget-
paying
his
for
budget
his and
reflects
she's.
His piece and her budget will reflect her piece of that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
When will y'all be talking about the medical services contract and all that?
We'll be working on that over the next, I guess, the term expires June 30th, so we'll have to
Okay.
visit about that even this month.
Is there a motion on this budget, or is there any other questions? If there's no other questions, I entertain a motion on the budget.
Move to forward to our budget committee with a favorable recommendation.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
I'll go ahead and second it.
Okay. All right, we got a second. All right, discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right, thank you. Next is the, fire and rescue. And I think the, report's on the table.
Mayor, I've got a question right quick, since we're looking at these budgets. Can you have this data sent to our email accounts that's been set up by Brian and them? It'd be easier for me to pull it up and look at it on a spreadsheet like that, and
Now, sometimes it might have been today when we actually reviewed these budgets.
I understand it.
It might not get there timely.
Right, I'm just wanting it for budget later too, so, and
Yeah.
any of them that we get like that.
Now, one thing we all probably have to work on, these things are on legal paper size, and that's a little bit of a struggle for us. It'll come through on your computer, but you can't print it. At least I can't get home. So,
The first page is of my report on my activities this last month. And I have been working to implement all the data for my department and all the volunteer departments in this new firehouse software, our fire software that we got, that they're trying to get all the data in so we can have training on that. Next page is the motor vehicle accident report. And the average response time on that this month is 7.6 minutes for the average response time. Training hours and the water usage per department. And then we're also, we've been having training on Thursday nights, and we've invited all the other volunteer departments, and we're gonna start having training on Saturdays to kind of compensate for the ones who work evening shift that can't make those trainings. So that would be, give them 2 different days that they could hopefully attend some type of training. Next sheet is the reported structure fires that we reported to the code department. That concludes my reports, and I've got 3 budget amendments.
You got some good news. I heard a little birdie told me that, I think the county got a grant.
We did receive a grant for a mobile cascade system, and I think it was $130,000 on some wear packs that will complete the whole department. We're going from 2216s to 45-minute bottles with a buddy hookup system and everything. And then the 2216s that we currently have, I will be passing those down to some of the departments that have some SCBA's that are out of service, because they're still on 2216s, and so that will help their supply of the bill on what they have that may be damaged they can't afford to get fixed. Some of them still have the old harness, the old backpacks, and that will help take those out of service. And that's part of one of my budget amendments I'm gonna cover.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
I didn't know if you wanted to do that separately from the report.
Got a motion for the report. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
first budget amendment, of course, is on gasoline. We're averaging about $2,000 a month on the gas, the diesel fuel for the rescue trucks and plus our apparatus. Most of that is run rescue, and then an increase on gasoline. We're averaging about $600 a month on that. So I'm asking to take that out of the extra county fund to move into my line item 412 for diesel and 425 for gasoline.
Larry, will that see you through the end of the budget year?
Hopefully, if gas prices don't continue to rise, and it don't.
Can you count on that?
Going to.
And then the next budget amount is, we had a ladder truck in our apparatus, and we were able to sell that to Dixon County. We received $6,000 for that. I'm requesting to put that back into our line item 499 so we can buy some much needed hoses that's been damaged and dry rotted over the past years that will help us to do our 1 3/4 tack lines for our trucks. And then the next budget amendment is just to recognize revenue and related expenditures for the SAFER grant of 2010, 2011, and the 2011-2012 with the Assistance to Firefighters Grant, which is the AFG, and also to recognize revenue and related expenditures for the 2011 Assistance to Firefighters Grant to be used to purchase self-contained breathing apparatus and a mobile compressor and cascade fill system.
You've heard the request.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All right, discussion.
On the SAFER grant, what is the breakdown of firefighters? They pay for the first 2 years' salaries in full, and then the third and the fourth years, like,
On the SAFER grant we applied for, which, and the reason I have permission from the chairman to send on the budget, because it opened up after I had my public safety meeting, and it was closed out the 24th before I could get back. The grant we applied for was for 4 full-time firefighters, which would be fully paid for 100% the first 2 years. After that 2 years, the county can either continue that or they can cut it.
if they cut it, we have to pay the money back. Yeah, on the SAFER grants, if you don't use that grant for the 4-year program that it's designed for, the county would be obligated to paying the feds back for that
This is only a
position.
2-year grant on this one now.
I'm pretty sure.
It's a 2-year grant, 2 years.
That's all it is.
And from what we read through, me and Ms. Hill
Okay.
read through it, I don't remember seeing that verbiage in there.
Well,
I'm not saying it's not in there, but I don't remember seeing
In
that.
either event, if it is in there, you still will have an opportunity, if we receive the grant, for the commission to approve the acceptance of the grant. This doesn't obligate us, the application to accept it necessarily. You'll still have that opportunity.
But before we get on that SAFER grant, let's get through with
Okay. Well, that's in here, so that's why I was, it's in the amendments, that's why I was discussing
Oh,
that.
that SAFER grant?
Yeah, that's,
We haven't received, this is.
No,
only a-
this is different.
This is the old, we just applied for that, we just turned that in Friday the 24th. This right here, what you're seeing is the grant we received on the mobile cascade system. If you'll see down at the bottom where it says explanation.
okay,
For
I
the
thought,
mobile cascade system and the,
I'm sorry.
The SCBA.
All right, so we got a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion on the motion
Got
on
a
the floor?
quick question.
All right.
The county volunteers had been using a cascade system that the county was providing, and I forget, the EMA or Murfreesboro Fire was bringing that out. What's the status of that particular cascade
When I first
system?
got in the fire coordinator position, we went out to Station 2 of Murfreesboro Fire Department and collected that. It had basically just wore, come out and just come apart. So it's out of service.
Well, I hadn't heard it being used. That's why I was curious. And I know some of the departments have got their own cascade. I know Kittrell had picked up a cascade system, or any others.
Several of them do. This system that we got will allow us to have 6,000 PSI bottles on the truck, so we'll be able to fill the 45-minute bottles and the 2216s.
Is it mobile?
What we're fixing to purchase will be.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? Call the roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips? Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes.
And then my budget for this year, on the increases, if you look at line 307, which is communications, there's a $8,400 increase on that line item because of the fax lines and the telephone lines at the new station, plus the network connection. It's like a $540 per month connection fee that allows us to be connected to the courthouse to get email. And so I've allowed for that expenditure per month. But if you'll also look down at line 351 on rentals, that $16,875 we were paying to rent that building on 810 Salem was $1,875 a month. We won't have that expenditure any more longer. So we've actually about cut that in half. Then line item 334, maintenance agreements, that has increased because of the fire software. Annual maintenance is $244. The good thing about that, I don't know if I reported to you that since we got that bid, we were hoping to obtain fire software to do all of our maintenance, our training, all our reports, and then offer the reporting for NEFRS to the volunteer fire departments. But what happened is when we accepted the bid, which was a whole lot less than what we were expecting, the company we went with allowed us to also offer everything to the volunteers. So in other words, what we have as far as doing pre-plans, the hydrant testing, training, staffing, all that, maintenance of the vehicles, personnel training, they get all the modules that we get. So we were very pleased with that. So that will benefit every volunteer fire department in the county.
Are they all using that?
Well, we're just now trying to get that set up, and I'm looking for some training dates where we can bring people in, train them, and then they can go back to their departments and train their people. Hopefully what this will do will make it a lot easier and streamline their reports they have turned into the national fire incident reporting system.
I know we got some of them not reporting to the TFRS.
Yeah, and then we've had some of them that apply for grants, and that's not how they aren't receiving grants because they haven't been reporting to TFRS like they should be.
Can we, when by them getting this, can we add a requirement in there that they need to report that stuff?
That requirement is under their contract with the county, that they report TFRS.
So some of them are not in
Well,
violation?
I've had one that's having some issues, but they've assured me that, me and the mayor have met with them, and they have assured us that they are going to improve on that. They've had a lot of problem with recruitment and firefighters, and we met with them, and they made a good effort to try to increase that participation. But anyway, that's why the increase from the considerable increase on the maintenance agreements is because of the software, plus we'll be having printers at the new station that we'll have to maintain. And then the next one is line item 335, which is $20,700. The reason for that, the Station 3 out on Elam Road, the roof is in bad need repair. That will be replacing it with another tin roof. And then the building is a block building that they added on to before we took control of it. And the outside wall they had added on another bay is made out of lumber. And that wall is in bad need repair because of termites. It's $8,200, I think, for the roof. It's about $6,500 for that wall. I'm gonna try to go back with block. And then also Station 4 has a roof need. It's gonna be $2,500 to repair that. So that is one of the increase on that line item right there. And then if you look down in line 399, that has gone from 370 to 375. The reason for the $5,000 increase is because Walter Hill came on doing their rescue, and me and the mayor agreed that since they were doing extra services with an increased cost of their electrical and utilities, because people were staying there 24 hours a day, we would compensate them that extra, just like we did Kittrell and Nowell.
Did you start that? Have you already started it, or you gonna start that?
We started that with Kittrell last.
Well, I understand, yeah, I know that. I'm
Walk Hill
talking
dropped
about.
out, so
Right.
they didn't carry over. Now they started back January first.
So you,
We're not
gonna start July first.
July, they'll start.
that's what I wanted to hear. Okay.
Because I told them they wanted to come back, and I let them, but I also informed them that I hadn't budgeted for their fuel. So.
One thing with that $3.99, I know each of these departments submit forms to the county of what they're requesting. Does that add up to what they're requesting, or is that just what your opinion is of it?
That's what.
Because, I mean,
No.
I'd still like to know what,
That's what he's recommended.
I would like to know
What
what,
they're requesting is, in some cases, more than we've been allocating heretofore in previous years. So we don't necessarily give them what they request.
I understand that, but it would be interesting to know what we used to see, what they requested, what each department requested, and then we would.
They do submit an application.
We'll still see that come budget
No,
time though.
last
won't we?
year, they got an increase of $10,000 per department, except for the departments that were on rescue, which was Animal and Kittrell. And they got a $15,000 increase because they were providing extra services to the county.
I'd still like to see what each of those departments requested to what their needs are, compared to just, that might be sufficient, but, you know, to see what these other departments need, it's only fair to them.
But we can see
It's
it, I
not
mean,
fair for us to just see
Ms.
that.
Long gets that information.
Yeah, they submit a package. We'll-
They used to come to this committee and
I don't recall them coming to this
think
committee since I've been here,
They have.
but I mean, they have, I haven't brought them to you.
But basically, their budget comes through, the rural fire protection, which is under my budget.
It's been a while since they come and requested to the committee. It's 7, 8 years, I think.
I don't
They've
think
not been
so.
at the table with me.
Well,
They've been here on a lot of, a lot of different things with insurance too and all, and you've seen them at
Well,
budget sometimes too.
well, I see them all the time, so that's.
Yeah.
They probably tell you individually.
Well,
about
we
it.
offered them an insurance proposal here a couple years ago too, but they declined that.
The gasoline,
Yes, sir.
when you got 7,000 for next year, and you just got, what, 2,400 more today, isn't that what it was?
That's because of the increase in prices. I'm hoping, I'm optimistic about it going down hopefully by next year.
Let me tell this committee, since a lot of the departments that report to you use a lot of vehicles. The sheriff is not in on this, but county general, we've taken RFPs. And a few months ago, and we already have selected a vendor that we have started. This is the second week that the ambulance service is our first entity to see if the system is going to work. But we're going to be purchasing fuel cheaper than we're currently purchasing it. And so I'm hopeful that we're going to get some benefit from that, even though the prices are going up. We're not buying off of retail. We're buying off of whatever, white paper, whatever it is. I don't know the term right now. I can't recall it. But anyway, plus 15 cents. So we're buying at a very good value, and we should see some benefit. We will see benefits. They may be offset by what goes up in the actual market out there.
Mr. Mayor, I believe too, we were buying, mid-grade gas versus, low-grade gas too at one point, and then now we switched back to save.
Well,
If I can remember, we discussed that and some savings money there too.
Yeah, we're only gonna be allowing 87 octane as far as the gas. We're not, the cards won't allow purchase of anything except that octane.
Line 411, Mayor decreased that from 3150 to 2,000. And then, of course, diesel, I request 28,000, Mayor reduced that to 24,000. And then, line item 429 is reduced from 4,000 to 2,000. And then 451 was 30,000, that was reduced to 25,000. That's for firefighter PPE, not uniforms, but firefighter turnouts and personal protective equipment. That's the only increase. One other decrease was 499, went from 19,000 to 9,000. And the reason for that is back up, I didn't explain, back up on the line item 334, The reason that went up so much is that the 10,000 that was coming out of 499 to pay for the maintenance of rescue tools, to flow our air packs and make sure they were operational, to hydrostatic test our bottles, to have our ladders certified and all that, is what that money is used for. So that's part of the mainstream stuff that we have to have maintained and checked every year. And then, line item 599 will reflect what we carry over this year to next year for the safer recruitment grant. And then, 790 will be the uniform part of the grant, safer that we'll be carrying over.
And we don't know that number yet. That's the reason that question mark's there.
We'll know closer to the time that this budget year is over with.
Go back to item 161, and just,
I requested an administrative assistant, and that position was denied.
oh, okay, that's
That
a,
36,000.
it should have been in department
It should be
request,
over
that's what,
department
yeah.
request.
that's what-
Okay,
that's-
I made a mistake.
That's what fake,
I put that in the wrong, that's my mistake.
so you haven't been sneaking one in?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I
Did you
put-
cut out the new rescue truck?
Yes, ma'am, that was cut.
So do we need to have a new total?
No, we don't, because we don't know that question mark fit in there.
Well, based on what's figured right now, that's around 690. About 690,000.
But you're gonna have some, is that left over, so it's.
Pardon?
I said you're gonna have some left over from the safer
Yeah,
grant
for the
and,
uniforms on
and
separate grant
and
and the
other charges
advertising.
up there.
That 7,500 on line item 599 is probably not that accurate, that's close.
Okay.
Did you say the administrative assistant is in there, or?
No, I requested that and the mayor denied the position. I just placed it in, I should put it under department request and
With a zero beside it.
Okay, I got it.
For recommendation.
What's the plan as far as,
There will be a shared arrangement between Tara Simmons, who works for EMA, and the Fire and Rescue Department. They'll determine the most appropriate schedule to make that work where she can service those administrative responsibilities.
What we've looked at is we're gonna, well, she may work Monday, Wednesday, Friday at EMA this week, Tuesday and Thursday, and next week work 3 days at my station, just alternate every other day.
I will say this, if and when an emergency occurs, her priority will be at EMA.
If there's a disaster or a tornado, then she will respond to EOC and assist them and all that.
Is that possible with Roger being out right now? I
Yes, it
mean,
Yes,
you
it
know,
is.
with them shortchanged, I mean, that's kinda,
We think we can manage, and I've talked with Kim and Tara both even today.
Is there any type of a percentage increase over last, I mean, just some kind of ballpark that you've got?
Well, there's no increase here. This is a major decrease in this particular
Well,
one.
last year was 933,350, and I figured that basically what we do this year is about, what you see right here is about $690,000.
Except
So it's actually a decrease.
the last item is gonna have, 790 is gonna be something added to it.
But if you'll notice line item 718, there was 218,000 that was requested. We got one of those last year, but it was cut on this year's budget. We received a new rescue truck last year. I requested one for this year, but it was cut, so it's actually reducing the amount of the budget that we last year.
Chief Farley, on your capital outlay, is that including the other contracted volunteer fire departments, or is that just the county rescue?
That's just my department.
Okay, cause I just know we got a huge aging fleet of apparatus in the county, and if we're not replacing them slowly, we're gonna be hitting several million in one shot to replace apparatus, and I didn't know if that was encompassing all those trucks or just yours.
I requested a rescue truck this year and looking to hopefully buy a tanker next year and that pump the year after that, just trying to plan. But a lot of that is based on economic times and what the county is bringing in. And I understand that. I mean, their fleet, my fleet is over their fleet.
any other questions? Is there a motion?
Motion to, approve and send to budget.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Is that the mayor's
Forward.
recommendation?
Yes.
Second.
And a second. All right. All, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. All right, EMA's budget report, and, reports on the table. Good evening, all. Taylor.
It's been an extremely busy month between working with Homeland Security concerns. We're working towards a district-wide exercise to be taking place very shortly, along with working on a local full-scale exercise to take place. That I'm not at liberty to give you any details yet, but I will as soon as I can. Major events, we had a week there, I don't know what was in the water that week, but we had 4 major MVAs concerning hazardous materials and tractor-trailer trucks on the interstate. It was a busy week for that. If you look at item hazmat MVA on the 28th, I would like to take a moment to commend the responders on this event. We had a tractor-trailer that struck a retaining wall in the center of the interstate and lost a saddle tank and caught on fire. We called Almaville Fire, called for a mutual aid response from the city of Laverne, who responded in due haste. And with those assets on the scene, we were able to get extra help down there out of their city public works to be able to remediate the situation hours ahead of what would have taken us under normal means. So being able to have dump trucks and bulldozers sent from the city of Laverne to help us remediate that was very well taken into accord, and I'd like to send our gratitude out to the city for allowing us to utilize their resources. They showed an outstanding example of what mutual aid is all about. We were also able to implement some activity from the county solid waste department to have some roll-offs delivered to the site to empty the debris into and clear the interstate much quicker than it would have taken normally. So that was a big kudos to everybody that was involved in that event.
Smyrna didn't come?
Smyrna, I don't believe, was requested. It was not in the city limits. It was in the county, although it was closer to Smyrna than anyone else, but
Real close to it.
for some, real close to that station by the interstate.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Almaville requested mutual aid from Laverne, and they came, so it worked out well.
Well, they came right down the interstate from 64.
Yes, yes, that's it.
Any questions on his report?
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, we have a second? And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Back to the budget here.
On the budget, not much has changed from last year. I do have a slight change in diesel fuel, item 412. We've had an increase due to the expected cost that's going to be associated with the new generator that will be going up to Tiger Hill. We'll have to fuel that, along with having to keep our generator fueled at Lynch Hill Tower Site and the Emergency Operations Center. And then, of course, when the Milton project goes into effect, we'll need fuel for that location as well. So that was that increase of $3,000 for diesel fuel, which is projected with that budget. Other expenditures on the second page, 499 was decreased by $5,000, and 708 was decreased by $3,000. And then data processing equipment on 709 went up by $5,000. So with the decrease on line 499 and 708, we're really looking at only an increase of $2,000 for 709 for wireless updates for the mobile command and some field computer systems. The DHS grant, hopefully we'll be back soon. We expected about 3 weeks once we got it cleared through the commission, and that should increase our overall budget by approximately $305,000.
So your overall budget is less than what it was last year?
But
substantial part, you know, the reduction is in this, grant money.
Right.
Heck, 300,000 thereabouts.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
But it is a continuation budget except for that.
Any questions on this budget?
Which line items your water bill come out of? I mean, I don't see utilities line, I see electricity, see gas, diesel, just out of curiosity.
Other explanations, that's a good question.
Some of, let's say this, and I'm not, we do have electricity, but I don't see water.
I was just curious, I assumed it'd fall under utilities and be that way, but, you know, with these towers coming on, of course, you know, they're fed with power, so we'll be picking up the bills on them.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, the diesel fuel there is just backup in case of emergency power loss,
Right,
right?
these are all, to keep the towers running when we lose
Right.
power, correct. I do not know.
As far as the other
where water
utilities
comes
in that building, there are a few buildings, and forgive me for not knowing precisely, that is coming through a general bill.
Okay, well, you're right there on the river, I didn't know if you're just sucking
We just
water out of
suck
the.
it right I think that's one of those that, along with some of our others that come through the finance department as a consolidated bill.
I was just curious, you know, because I hadn't seen that in any of the others too.
I'll certainly look into it and let you know.
Any other questions on the budget? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve and forward the budget.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Is that with the mayor's recommendation?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Give Roger our best.
I will. Thank you.
Mine, still on my phone.
Move this.
All right, is there any other business to come before the committee?
I have one item. The domestic violence department that we have, we've had a grant, a 3-year grant called a STOP grant, which means Service Training Officers, Prosecutors. It comes through the state of Tennessee. We've been getting about $43,000 a year. This is the 3rd year of that grant. And they're gonna open that grant up for another application in a week or two. We don't even have the form yet. But as most of these grants are, the time to apply would be short. So I'd like for permission to reapply for that grant, the STOP grant for the domestic violence program.
It's the same as it'll be the same as it's
It'll be the
been.
same approach we've been being. We think they're going to fund it at the same levels.
Do we still have the same person that's overseeing that?
No, sir, we have a new person that's been in there probably a half of 6 months or so.
Okay.
The original director that was here when I came took another job in another county.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was wondering that.
That's
Thank you.
correct. So really the motion, Ms. Shelton, if it could be, let's make application for the grant, and under the assumption if we receive it, allow us to execute that. So this will be coming through over the next few months.
Is that a matching grant, Mayor?
No, there's no matching money there.
Is it entertain a motion?
Make the motion that, we apply for it.
Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. First of all, I want to thank you, Mayor, and all the department heads for y'all's due diligence on the budget. It helps us go a little bit quicker and smoother when y'all sit down in long hours, and we appreciate that.
Thank you. Part of what we're supposed to do.
Anybody else have anything to come before the committee?
Do we ever decide a date on the other
I thought it was
special
gonna be
meeting?
I thought it was gonna be
I didn't know for the sheriff's department. or-
he's supposed to let us know when he's ready.
Okay.
Your next meeting is March 26th.
Six, I think.
So you'll hear the rest of the budget then, and you'll set a time for the sheriff after that date.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Right. If you don't have any other business, we stand adjourned. Thank y'all.